It's a disaster that has captured the attention of the world. But what really happened 12,000 feet beneath the sea? Hey everyone, Venerable Jeff Jones here, and in this video I want to talk about the OceanGate Titan submarine disaster. Now, I'm going to preface this first off by saying that my condolences go out to the family of the victims. This is a tragedy that will have long-lasting effects on oceanography and the exploration of the seas in the future. So what's the story? Well, unless you've been living under a rock for the past week, you know what happened. On Sunday the 18th of June, at around 1:45 PM, OceanGate's experimental Titan submarine lost all communication with its surface vessel while travelling to the wreck of the Titanic in the North Atlantic. 4 days later, some of the wreckage of the sub was discovered on the sea floor. All 5 people on board were killed. According to the US Coast Guard, the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. So what happens during an implosion? Well, it's all about pressure. An implosion is when high pressure outside the vessel forces its way into it. You see, pressure always wants to go from an area of high pressure to low pressure. It doesn't like it when there's two different levels of pressure, or differential as it's called. So the way it is that there's low pressure inside the vessel with high pressure outside. So the hull has to be strong enough to resist that pressure. If there is an area of the vessel which isn't strong enough to take the pressure, or there's a weakness somewhere in it, the water will force its way through that spot with such force and speed that the vessel will be crushed and destroyed. And it is believed that that is what happened in this case. What's also quite nasty is the fate of those on board. The force of the water would be so strong that those on board would be killed pretty much instantly. Also, they would have been crushed so badly that their bodies would be impossible to retrieve. Same thing actually happened to those on the Titanic. Their bodies were crushed as the ship sank, meaning there wasn't anything left to find when underwater vehicles got down there years later. Well, decades later actually. Only their shoes remain. It's a chilling image. Now, there are some kind of issues around this disaster, and I want to kind of give my thoughts on them really quickly. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. There were many safety concerns raised by the designers as well as some past passengers regarding different areas of the vessel, from the integrity of the hull to the poor control system it used to its unreliable communication system. It also skipped the certification process for such vessels, which is why it's classed as an experimental submarine. There is a lot of concern that they skipped a lot of the testing to ensure that it was safe, so they could get it into the market immediately. And while that has kind of worked generally well in other industries like space exploration with SpaceX and Virgin Galactic and all them, the dangers with undersea exploration are actually a bit greater, given the danger of the implosion of the vessels. Now, while space exploration isn't safe either, you have to be very careful about it. Under the sea is a lot more difficult to do, which is why it's under the sea hasn't really been explored that well. Another interesting thing about this is that we now know that the US Coast Guard actually detected the implosion of the sub on the day that it happened. They had listening devices looking for submarines, I think it was, and they actually heard the implosion. But they claim no, the reason that they didn't actually realise what had happened straight away is that they couldn't be sure if the sound that they detected was from the sub. Now, I'm not going to be honest, I do actually believe them. Because an interesting thing happened during the search. During the 4-day search, they detected like banging or tapping sounds from the area in which they were searching. They thought that these tapping was the crew sending a distress signal by tapping into the hull, which is a technique used by submarine crews when they're in an emergency at the bottom of the ocean. They tap on the hull to give their position to rescuers. But considering it happened on descent, and these taps were heard days later, we now know that it wasn't the crew. What they are, we don't know. But it wasn't the crew of the Titan. Another area is that there seems to be a link between the hirings and firings around diversity here. Some online have claimed, that the CEO of OceanGate, who was on board himself, that he was actually hiring people who were unqualified for the roles that they were embarking on, based on some sort of diversity quota to fill. Apparently he's quoted in saying that he wants a less white company, I think it was. And also there's instances that those who actually went forward and said, look, there's safety problems here, they were fired in response to making those claims. So I think it's an interesting one. Now, when it comes to the whole diversity hiring thing, I don't know how true those claims are, or if they were a factor in the disaster. I wouldn't be surprised if diversity hirings were part of this, given today's culture, and if they are, we should know how. Likelihood that we'll ever find out if that's the case, unlikely. So what do you guys think? Share your thoughts with me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear them. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe to keep up with my latest videos. This is a disaster that will live on for years to come. And while a lot of people kind of go, well, they were billionaires, it's still tragic. And my condolences go out to the families of those who were killed. Now, I'm not going to comment further until the investigation concludes. It's a really interesting one, I think, and I think what happened here will, I don't know, it'll definitely push undersea exploration further, but I think it'll also be a reminder for how dangerous it is. Sea isn't a joke. I think this disaster shows that.